want to kind of give some ideas about how I actually can bring value to the table for existing and potential new clients. And this includes for individuals and businesses. One of the things I do is I early on like to take an active role in the client's management, understanding what they're doing, what their goals are, what their plans are for future, if anybody's retiring soon, things like that. A lot of times there's companies where it's perhaps really being run by the second generation, so there's officers in place, maybe mom and dad are still there and so forth, and they're looking to get out in a few years. And so we try to understand if they want to create a succession plan. I look at underlying agreements if there's any at all, or we draft ones up if they're not, in terms of like buy-sell agreements, things like that, which really help when somebody wants to get out of the business. It's very important. I've seen so many instances where, especially with family, someone owns a certain percentage, someone owns another, and the brother or whoever wants to get out first, and it's like, well, how do I do that, and how much can I get for my stock, and it's kind of causes some conflicts if that's not identified early on and sort of laid out very clearly. So in addition to that, I go beyond the numbers, and I look at any bank documents that might exist for loans and things like that to see what loan covenant requirements are. Very important to see if that that they're in compliance with whatever the bank requires for their credit line or for their loan they may have. And another area I think that's really important is with regard to cash flow. These days it's difficult to sometimes collect on certain invoices. So if a company's having difficulty managing their cash flow, one of the things they might look to do is, and I've done this for a few companies and it worked out terrifically, is to turn to something called a receivables exchange. It's kind of like, think of it like almost like the stock market, but for kind of selling your invoices instead of anything else. And so really, I was surprised at how small a fee they take. It's pretty reasonable. If the invoice is good and we're going to get it at least in 90 days, it can't be stuff that's like sitting around on the books for 2 years and probably not collectible. You're not going to get anything on that one. But if they are legitimate receivables and it's just that the pace has become a little slower when customers pay, one of the things they might want to look at is similar to factoring. I don't know if anyone's heard of factoring. Very similar, where the company basically pays you a discounted amount for the receivable. They take it and they're responsible for collecting it, sort of like on your behalf, and they give you the cash immediately. So it's a way to get cash in the pipeline right away. That could be useful so that instead of going out to the outside and getting an investor or borrowing or something like that, you might just be able to derive some cash flow from your existing invoices that are just going unpaid for some reason. Over the years, I've serviced a wide variety of business types. I've been in both, kind of on both sides of the fence. I was in public accounting for a long time, and also in private as a CFO and owner of a school for about 11 years. So I've seen all different types of businesses and industries, and I think that the diverse experience I have allows me to kind of put myself in the client's shoes a little bit more readily and kind of understand some of the strains they're going through and how we can best cope with what they're dealing with. Just to piggyback on what Brandon said, really as far as tax planning and things like that, it's really a year-round activity that really should be, somebody should implement, whether it's an individual or a business. I'm always calling my clients. I talk to my clients year-round. I mean, it's not one of these things where it's tax time, I got to come in and drop off my stuff and see you later. That really is just I do that stuff with some people that don't choose to meet year-round, but it's kind of a more mechanical process. But it's like, well, here, let me see what you did, what mistakes you made. I can't really change them, but I'll just tell you how much you owe in tax, and that's not really like a fun process. So the way I like to work is I like to build up long-term relationships with people and use the off-tax season, like this time of the year kind of thing, to spend more time at their location, observing the day-to-day business, and really meeting with members of the management team and so forth, and really identifying what they want to do. So we can help them get there. It's a great time to start funding retirement plans, as Brandon said. This is the time of year you want to do that stuff. I'll give you an example of why it's important to stay in touch. I had a new client last year came to me in the fall, and I was really shocked to see how much money she made just by doing this. I'm sure everybody's heard of like there's like these on Amazon and all these different online order things. It's called Etsy. It's like an online site that you can order anything, jewelry, hand stamped jewelry, things like that. So she makes jewelry in her garage basically, and it sounds like, well, how much money can someone make doing that? Well, I'll just tell you that her net income after all expenses was about $145,000. I was absolutely blown away. And so we had a plan for that tax consequence last year. But this year, year to date so far, she's paid $2,000. So that's kind of like a very bizarre, thing. And something happened with her marketing that really changed this, quite a bit. So I wouldn't know that if I didn't call her the other day and kind of see how things were going. Another thing I like to do is with today's technology, everybody's sure probably have QuickBooks and all that stuff, and maintaining your books and stuff. There's the online version is fantastic. It allows me to log in remotely. I don't even have to go to the client's place, and I can kind of, see what's going on. I don't do anything in there transactionally without their knowledge, but I'm able to look at their books and records basically remote and kind of get a feel for what's happening. Are they doing their bank recs? Are they keeping up with their receivables? Are they, that sort of thing. So it's really, it makes our lives a lot easier, I think, in terms of working together that way. Just trying to see if, I think that really the biggest thing I could say as far as, sorry, I don't have an extreme amount of information prepared. I came off my son's graduation last week, and I'm still kind of blown away that even happened. College graduation. So it was a big deal for us. But anyhow, so I think that the best thing that I could say is I really am more of a kind of a hands-on person as far as working with the individual or the business, and constant communication is really what I think is the key to making this work for both sides. So, thank you very much.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Do you have anything that you recommend to help people prepare to deal with you for like personal finance management? Like a Quicken program or a Quicken or anything that somebody could use?
Sure, that's a good one.
That has a hot mess of things going on at home?
Yeah, there's something called Mint also, which you might want to check out because people like it.
Oh, I have it on my phone. I just never open it because it's scary.
You can get it on your phone, exactly. And that's what it's so portable. So that's a good one. Quicken is good. It's kind of personal preference, but I suggest you have something. I mean, the other with all the apps out there, I use one for receipts. It's actually just called Receipts. And so if I'm out at a restaurant, whatever, I just take a picture of it. It goes right in, because otherwise I wind up with a pile of things that I don't know what to do with either.
Or a full office of them.
One thing I like to, Jen, I mean, we have it, I'm sure every other major firm has it as well. We use something called Total View, where you can load every one of your assets, your liabilities in Password Live, and it updates daily. So when I log into my Ameriprise account, I can see my mortgage, I can see my credit card debts, I can see all of my brokerage accounts, retirement accounts, everything in one place. The account, it's a total view. It's everything in your life, and it's totally secure, and I'm sure we're not the only firm that does that. So.
Okay, awesome.
That's great.
I have a question.
Sure.
What's the best way to refer you to someone that thinks that they have an accountant? You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people like have an accountant and they use them every year, and they don't really think about much of it after a couple of years.
Sure.
What's the best way to get you an entry in there?
I would say that, the sort of like the hand-holding. I think that's where I see that lacking with other professionals that, they just kind of expect or anticipate the client's going to have X, Y, and Z ready, and they have nothing ready. And they don't know what to do to get it ready, as Joe was saying. They're not sure where to start sometimes. And so that's where I do a lot of that work. I do a lot
like
of
a conversation, just like invite them to have a conversation
Absolutely.
with you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The other thing I'll throw out, Glitch brought that up, Nancy. The other thing I'll throw out is that, for anybody that's interested, I offer a free review of last year's return.
Oh, that's a good one.
And that's really where, I think a lot of value can be gained from that, because here a person can come in and it's almost like getting a second opinion at a doctor. You did your taxes with somebody and you're like, okay, they've been doing my return for years and years, but let me let someone else look at it and just see if there's anything else that might be missing or whatever. So I've gotten clients from that, because I've noticed things that were just blatantly wrong or could be done better and so forth. And so, yeah. So
And it's probably good to refer him this time of year just after taxes,
right.
because if you're only using an accountant for your taxes, you're going to have some issues.
thank you.
Now we know the great job